Welcome to Bloomington Today. I'm Lori Schulte. Thanks for joining us. First, we bring you the buzz for the week of February 7th through the 13th. The excitement surrounding Super Bowl 52 in Minneapolis is now over, but the memories visitors and residents made will not soon be forgotten. Here's a look at some of the events that took place in Bloomington leading up to the big game. Illuminate South Loop was a hit for visitors and community members. Art projects, light installations, and performances wowed the crowd. People could play interactive games, take a seat in a psychedelic planetarium, and vote for the best version of the game, Duck Duck Grey Duck or Duck Duck Goose. The three-day event showcased the art scene in the Twin Cities and South Loop.
I hope people are really left in awe and wonder at the type of innovative artists that we have here in Minnesota, the performers, the dancers, and I hope they really appreciate the thought and the consideration that all of these artists have placed into each one of these projects that were created specifically for this site, for this project. I also hope that they leave just kind of excited about South Loop's future and starting to participate in the process. How can they become involved? What ideas do they have? We're really looking for that feedback. And also I just hope they have fun and get out and move in the winter. More than anything, we hope that people enjoy this park and, instead of sitting inside, maybe getting outside and exploring and seeing something different.
Down the street at Mall of America, activities continued leading up to the Super Bowl. Radio Row was on the third level where you could find broadcasters, guest celebrities, and athletes putting out content all week long. The Bloomington Police Department was also busy working at MOA on the days surrounding the big game. With more visitors than usual this time of year, there was an increased police presence aimed at ensuring safety and fun. On the other side of town, something you don't usually see in Bloomington, dog sleds. A group from northern Minnesota was offering dog sled rides to visitors. It was the perfect opportunity to make that picture-perfect Minnesota memory. We'll have more on Illuminate South Loop and the dog sledding on Bush Lake later on in the show. With all those visitors in town for the big game, city officials wanted to make sure both out-of-towners and residents dressed for the chilly weather while enjoying all Minnesota has to offer. That's why this following video was put together, outlining the perfect recipe for winter weather success. It features Minnesota's favorite blue ribbon baker, Marjorie Johnson. Take a look.
And now, a cold weather message from Blue Ribbon Baker Marjorie Johnson.
I'm Marjorie Johnson, and you probably know me real well as the Blue Ribbon Baker because I've won all these ribbons, so many ribbons at the Minnesota State Fair and at the County Fair. I usually give recipes for all the baked things, but today I'm going to give you the recipe for how to stay warm this weekend if you're in Minnesota, because it's going to be a little cold. But if you dress warm, dress in layers, and have something on your head and something on your hands and something on your feet, you're really going to enjoy all those wonderful things that Minnesota has to do in the winter. Marjorie, you're not dressed for outside, you're dressed for baking. Now first, you must have a pair of nice warm mittens to keep your hands. And then it helps to have a scarf around, and then you can put it across your face if your face gets cold. And then, oh yeah, you've got to have wool socks, yeah. You want to keep your feet real warm. And then, of course, because heat escapes from our head, you must have a nice warm cap. And this one is big enough so then it goes over your ears, because your ears will get cold if they're not covered. So yeah, so then you'll be toasty, toasty warm. You can see I'm all dressed for Minnesota weather, but now I think maybe it's time to go in and have one of my famous ginger snaps and some hot coffee. That would taste really good.
Now to an update on Highland Greens. The City Council decided to retain the former driving range property for the short term. Last year, the council was looking at developing a portion of Highland Greens, a 9.5-acre part of the property where the old driving range used to be. But following a request for proposals process, the 4 proposals received were rejected. In late January, the council was looking at 4 alternatives for the property at Highland Greens. Keep the former driving range property for the long term, retain it for the short term and revisit, sell the property via a new RFP with revised parameters, or sell the former range outside the RFP process to allow for more community involvement. The City Council decided to retain the old driving range property in the short term and revisit the situation at the end of the 2018 golf season.
What Council wants to do is to see what changes have transpired over the course of the next golf season. And we do have some changes coming up with the golf course operations. We have a longtime manager who retired back in August, and we're in the process of hiring a new manager. So the Council wants to take a look to see how that new management structure works out and what difference it has made with the operations over at Highland Greens before making any further decisions. Highland Greens has been operating at a loss for more than a decade, resulting in a working capital deficit of approximately $1 million. In 2017, $300,000 in taxpayer money subsidized the operation. But in the meantime, staff is making a push to get more golfers hitting the links at Highland. There will be 2 junior passes available this golf season, one giving unlimited access to Highland's course, range, and foot golf. You can also get the Mega Pass to add on unlimited golf at Dwan. It's a wonderful amenity. We've got the driving range on the property. We've got the 9-hole course. It's easy and it's a great amenity if you're a new golfer, an older golfer. It's a great amenity. So I would encourage people to use the course. Finally, February is Black History Month, and the Human Rights Commission is celebrating with a special event coming up at Civic Plaza. Erica Armstrong Dunbar is presenting on her book called Never Caught: The Washington's Relentless Pursuit of Their Runaway Slave, Ona Judge. It's a story about an 18th century slave who escaped to pursue freedom. Ona was the property of President George Washington, and the attempt to recapture her went on for years. Its history, Human Rights Commissioner Jared Lease says is important to remember.
We think it's incredibly important for our nation and our community to think more deeply and more thoughtfully about where we are and how we got there. This story details a lot of interactions between how cities were built, how cities worked, the flow and movement of slavery throughout the nation and the abolitionist movement. And understanding that leads us to a greater understanding of where we are today.
The author's presentation will take place on February 13th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. at Civic Plaza. You'll also have the chance to meet the author and ask questions. The commission is encouraging people to read the book before the event. You can pick it up at both Hennepin County Libraries in Bloomington, Augsburg Park Library in Richfield, and at City Hall. To register for the event, head to bloomingtonmn.gov. That is the buzz on Bloomington today for the week of February 7th to the 13th. If you would like to watch other stories from the show, go to this week's playlist. There you'll find a video recapping the Illuminate South Loop event, from the fire throwers to the bonfires. There's also a piece highlighting a site you've probably never seen before, dog sleds on Bush Lake. Check those out, and thanks for watching.